All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 162, I think. Numbers are hard. So today, ran my Daggerheart game last night. It was so good. If anyone has missed kind of the nonsense that this game is, I decided I wanted to run at least one Daggerheart game. And so I started reaching out to some people, a lot of people actually, that I've always wanted to play with, and I just haven't had a chance to play. And I just started kicking around the idea of, hey, if I run a Daggerheart one-shot, would you guys be interested? This is not a commitment or anything, just, hey, is this something that you're interested in? And most of the people that I contacted were like, yeah, actually, it sounds pretty cool. So I start looking for a date. And quite a few of the people that I wanted to work with actually play together in a different game. They're currently playing Shadowheart. Or not Shadowheart, I'm sorry. Shadowrun. Very, very different. One is super attractive God's favorite princess. The other one is a cyberpunk noir nonsense TTRPG. So they're playing a Shadowrun campaign right now, or a little mini campaign. And so I knew if I tried to schedule this and they had one of their games on that night, none of them were going to be able to play. And just overall, it's a dick move. You know, if you have people that are playing in a campaign and you ask them to play in your game and then you schedule your game the same night that their regular campaign plays, it's 100% a dick move, because either you're trying to poach them from that campaign to your campaign, or you're forcing them to make a choice between the thing that they have already agreed to and already have a vested interest in, and pleasing you. Neither of those paint you in a good light. So I reached out to the GM of the campaign and go, hey, do you guys have like the next night that you're planning on playing? Because they only play like once a month, a couple times a month, something like that, because they're all really, really busy. And he goes, yeah, our next game is supposed to be this night. I'm like, cool. Then I'm not going to schedule it for that night. And because I know that you guys are not going to play twice in the same week, I'm just going to schedule it for a different night within a week of that day. And so I pitched the date to a few people and went, hey, if this was the date, do you think you might be able to do it? And most of them are like, it's a possibility. You know, when it gets closer, we'll figure it out. So I start actually planning. And I realized, well, I've got to figure out what I'm going to run for this one shot. Because at this point, I had already run a Zelda-themed one shot. And that was new levels of nonsense. Because I literally... I learned the system and created a completely custom one-shot in less than 24 hours. And I have done that before. I literally, during one of the charity events, I got a call or a message from one of the participants of the next charity event. I think it was like 10 minutes before they were supposed to go live, going, hey, our dungeon master isn't here. And I went, sorry, what? Yeah, we don't have a dungeon master. That's weird. I'll look into it. Just give me a second. So dungeon master's a no-show. So 5 minutes before they go live, I jump into their game. I go, hey guys, here's the thing. I don't know where your dungeon master is. In order for this charity event to work, we have to play D&D for 48 hours straight. I can't just have a 4-hour block not show up. You guys are all here. You're all expecting a game. I'm going to go ahead and run it for you. The DM had shared nothing with me for that adventure. The only thing that I did for any of these DMs was they sent me like a short, like 3 to 4 sentence paragraph describing the adventure they were going to run. And then I put that into a video to advertise it so that they could get players. That is the most. And I put them in the schedule. That is the most interaction I had as far as like how the game was going to be run. I just made sure I had dungeon masters, they had players, and that they knew when they were going to go and how changing over DMs is going to work. So I knew nothing about this game in any way, shape, or form. I just had a paragraph. And yeah, with 5 minutes before we went live, I started very quickly making shit up. And I ran an entire 4-hour D&D 5th edition adventure with zero prep, with zero anything. I just pulled it out of my ass, and I was randomly, picking out monsters from various books and just randomly creating things. So it's theoretically possible for me to do things on the fly. It's not fun, and that was pre-disability. Like, now, brain doesn't work quite the same way. So I didn't want to repeat that. I start looking into what I want to do, and I realize I own the Temple of Elemental Evil. The first adventure is called The Village of Hamlet. There's nothing stopping me from running as a Daggerheart adventure. All I have to do is basically convert the encounters. Everything else works effectively the same way. A lot of people don't realize this. Aside from very specific mechanical things that are built into adventures, like one of the things I found out about the Village of Hamlet, because it's your old school dungeon crawl, every single room, and this is everywhere, this is even in the Village of Hamlet, where you're not dungeon crawling, you're just wandering around asking for information. Every single room has a monetary value. What I mean by that is every single room that they describe, they will also describe whatever valuables are in the room and how much they're worth. Because old school D&D was about getting money. And getting cool new magic items and the things like that. So because that's not how Daggerheart works, I had to modify from a few things. There's also a hireling system in original D&D that doesn't apply in Daggerheart, so I had to make some modifications, but they're kind of minor things. The actual adventure itself, the maps and everything like that, all of that you can still use. And so that's what I did for about 2 days, was going through, remapping all of the encounters and everything so that I could actually run this in Daggerheart. And of the 5 different people that I asked that I hadn't had a chance to play with or hadn't had a chance to play with in a long time, only one of them said okay. Once I upload the VOD, you guys will be able to meet him. He's a lovely gentleman by the name of, his online moniker is Toast and Waffles. We just call him Toast. He's a super cool dude. Met him through DK. So Toast agreed to do it, and I had a couple of my regular players agree to do it, and so we got everybody together, and we ran it. I will say 2 of the 5 people had played Daggerheart before. They played in my Zelda game. That was Imp and Chris. The other 3 were 100% completely new to Daggerheart and never played it before. Had done their best to learn the rules, but they'd only had the rules for maybe a week. Because, fun fact about Demiplane, because I have a subscription to Roll20, and Demiplane and Roll20 are now linked, I have a subscription to Demiplane, which allows me to share all the stuff that I own with up to 25 people. So all of these people that agreed to play, I'm just like, here, create characters, read the rules, get as familiar as you want to with it. So yeah, that was kind of cool. We all got to use the character builder, which is massively fun. We start playing the game, and the thing about old school adventure modules is the GM is intended to do a lot more heavy lifting than kind of current adventure modules. Like the Village of Hamlet, they literally explain everything about how the village works and everything like that, but there's no plot for you to follow. There are no breadcrumbs that they put in there that the whole point of going to the village of Hamlet is eventually you are led to the moat house, which is where your first dungeon delve is. Um, but there's nothing in the entire chapter on the village of Hamlet. There's nothing in there that gives you any indication about how to convince the players that they need to go to the moat house, or even where the moat house is located. Once you get to the moat house section, there is a short, it's about this long on the page, it's about that wide. So it's maybe about 2 paragraphs. They go, while you're talking to people in the village, you may discover some, if not all, of this information. And they just tell you a little bit about the moat house. And you have to kind of come up with a way for, while the players are role-playing, to come up with a way for them to be introduced to the moat house. So I read through that, and my intention was they were going to talk to a few people, and they were going to start hearing rumors about people going missing and some strange kind of vibes going on, strange air being blown away from the direction of the moat house and everything like that. A few of the older residents would go, oh yeah, I remember, 10 years ago, before the Battle of Emerald Meadows, yeah, elemental evil took over the town. It really, really sucked. People always said that they had like a base of operations nearby. And I remember when the Army of Light came, they went like north, and apparently they were able to wipe out the entire base of operations, which was really, really nice. We were really happy about that. And they would have to kind of piecemeal together, oh, maybe this base of operations has something. Like a cult lived there. Maybe they left something good. That didn't happen in any way, shape, or form. Without getting too spoilery, the interactions with the player characters started with a druid going over and talking to a horse, rolling with fear, and having a very indignant horse that required payment before giving any information, and then rolling with fear again in order to get caught by a busybody guard that tried to arrest them. And it went down from there. There was like a brawl. They tried setting an inn on fire. It was really, really impressively nonsense. And I had to kind of revamp everything. Even in the middle of the game, as they're doing all this stuff, and I realize, oh, bad things are about to happen now. I just stopped playing. I go, I spent hours reading every bit of useless information about these people. Like, I know these people's names. I know how many, I know what their retirement plans are. I know where they stored their money for the rainy day. Like, I know all this useless shit. And none of it is useful because you guys have just pissed off an entire town. No one is going to speak to you again. It was an entire waste of time. Glad I didn't pay for a map for this one, because I went and bought maps for the other two. Because I didn't want to make them myself, and the maps that were in the book are fine, but they were written in the 80s on graph paper. They just don't look very pretty. And I wanted something that just looked more interesting and inviting. So, yeah. You just sit there going, oh, for the love of all that is holy, what the hell? And yeah, it kind of went from there. And there was an improvised combat, because I didn't create any combat encounters for the village because they're not supposed to fight anybody there. And I figured, well, if they do get into, a scuffle, I can just, we can just treat it as role playing as opposed to like actual combat. Nope. Swords were drawn. Mauls were used to break tables. It was a thing. And so I just created monster stat blocks out of my head. And it actually worked pretty well. Like, I didn't feel massively overwhelmed with the fact that I had to basically just make up creatures. They were not nearly as interesting. Like, combat design in Daggerheart is really good. And it's not because they have like a better challenge rating system. I'm actually still not 100% sold on their battle point system. And I used it barely as a guideline. Um, However, um, because they have different roles for monsters, it makes creating interesting encounters significantly more easy, and the encounters themselves, especially once you start using like support monsters and especially leaders. Um, Leaders in Daggerheart are exactly that. They're designed to be someone that is leading a bunch of other different units. That's the whole point of the leader. Is they're not. It's not really designed to have two leader units in the same encounter. You really are just designed to have one leader unit. And because of that, a lot of leader units will actually, excuse me, will actually, uh, sorry. Oh, I'm still feeling horrible. A lot of leader units will actually have an ability that allows them to spotlight multiple other units while only burning one fear. Uh, and that massively changes how things work because, first of all, that puts a massive target on the leader themselves, which you should inform your players. Like, as you're running it, they should be aware that the reason they just got attacked 4 times while I only spent one fear is because the leader just made all those units attack. And that's a big deal. And then they have other things like you have bruisers that are just there, like they're big hit point sponges that hit really hard. And then you have skulks, which are designed to be a little more stealthy. And you have ranged ones that are just designed to pummel them from the end. And you have support units that just make everybody else more difficult to kill and more deadly. And combat design in Daggerheart is such a refreshing breath of fresh air, especially compared to combat design in uh, 5th edition, which to me just really feels like collecting together a bunch of hit points and hoping that they kind of interact with each other well. Um, so, yeah. So, yeah, overall, the game went exceptionally well. I got rated by 2 different people while I was running it. The first one was not a name that I recognized, but I got to interact with a couple people from there. And then the second one was my buddy John. He goes by More Cowbell. He's one of Toast's friends and one of DK's friends. He's part of that Shadow. He's actually the GM for the Shadowrun game, whom I actually reached out to and said, "Hey, would you like to do this?" And he eventually had to drop it. He's like, I didn't have enough time to learn the system. I just don't feel comfortable doing it. I'm like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it, dude. And then he shows up right as we're ending. I'm like, hi, John. It's great to see you. You know what would have been really cool, John? I'm just thinking about this now. I probably should have invited you to play. Like, that would have been super cool, right? To have both you and Toast here play together. Like, that would have been super fun, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, John? Don't you think that would have been super fun, John? John, do you think that'd be super fun, John, if you played with us, John? And it's all good-natured and fun. But yeah, like I've run this game twice now. Once with zero prep, and then a second time with significantly more prep that was mostly wasted. Because welcome to being a GM. And it was just as much fun to play the second time as it was the first. It ran just as smoothly. Again, the game, the way it's described, it feels very directionless. It feels like there's not enough there for for people to be able to kind of keep the story moving forward. And it's just not. Like, once you get into it, once you start making your rolls, and especially once you start understanding the hope and fear system and the duality dice really do make the GM's job significantly easier because the results are going to tell you if they succeed at what they're trying to do or they don't get what they want. And then the hope or fear mechanic effectively tells you where to go next or gives you good suggestions about where to go next. So they succeed with fear. You can go, okay, you're going to get what you want, but the story is going to take a turn that's going to make your life more difficult. So what's going to make their life more difficult? Oh, well, this makes sense. Like it's not one of the, like I've seen a lot of people going, well, I don't want to have to think of 4 different results for every single roll. You don't. You just have to figure out, okay, do they get what they want? If you succeed, they effectively get what they want. They tried to do something, they succeed, they do that. And then the hope and fear is basically, where is the story going to go next? Hope, more things are going to go in their general direction. They're going to be able to keep doing fun stuff. Fear, some sort of obstacle is going to be put in their path. Something is going to go wrong. Something is going to make things more challenging for them. But it doesn't prevent you from telling the story that you want. And you can always just bank the fear. Like, you don't have to immediately burn the fear. And one of the results of succeeding with fear can be something bad happens later on. So you don't immediately have to go, oh, well, you succeeded with fear. So, yeah, your firstborn child has just been taken hostage. Yeah, it's just how it was. I know all you were doing was negotiating for $1 off that soda. But, you rolled with fear. So there's consequences. That's not how it works. It's so incredibly smooth. Like, I was watching... what is it called? I think it's Ghostfire Games. They call it the Eldritch Lorecast on Mondays. They have a podcast that they do on Twitch called the Eldritch Lorecast. The reason I know anything about this is Dale Kingsmill, friend of the channel and super amazing, wonderful Australian that does amazing, wonderful things. Dale is one of their regular panelists. And so I watch it every so often to watch Dale do cool stuff. And the rest of the panelists are cool as well. But as I was, they were talking about it the week it came out, and this idea of, well, again, the lack of an initiative system and the spotlight system being so quote unquote wishy-washy and non-directional. Everybody kind of brings up this idea of it's got to mean that it's really hard to run, because you either have to have your hands on the reins pretty hard, or things are just going to go chaos, and really, really assertive players are just going to dominate everybody. And I mentioned in chat, like, it's really, really hard to explain in words. But the game has no right to run as smoothly as it does. Like, I can't describe it as anything other than very intuitive and natural. The game just feels very intuitive and natural, and everything that you do just feels very intuitive and natural. And it doesn't make sense, because this is all imaginary nonsense. There's nothing natural about this. We're all making it up as we go, but it just works. I can't explain it another way, that it works. And it works really, really well. It has been so much fun. So yeah, if anyone's familiar with the village of Hamlet, they made it to the moat house, discovered the joys of giant toads. If you don't know what that means, experience that. Or there is a game that came out, I want to say in the late 90s. It's called, remarkably enough, The Temple of Elemental Evil by Troika Games. You can actually get it on GOG, which is where I got my most recent copy. I actually bought a physical copy of it years ago as well. But it is a turn-based RPG that lets you play Temple of Elemental Evil using D&D. I think it's 3.5 rules. It might be, and I guess it would have had to come out in the early 2000s, because 3.5 didn't exist before that. But it lets you play through the entire Temple of Elemental Evil adventure, starting from the village of Hamlet and going forward. And yeah, Giant toads, they're a thing that ended a couple of my runs because you don't expect it. So, yeah, that's as far as they got. And it was getting late, and so I told the players, yeah, it's getting late, so this is where we're going to end it. It feels like a natural place for us to end because you guys just got to the moat house. And I basically said, if these guys are willing to do this again, I'm more than happy to finish this adventure. Like, I'm perfectly happy continuing to run this. I've done all the prep work. Like, initially, I only intended to convert a few of the encounters that I thought they might get to. And that was it. Because I'm like, well, I'm not going to run the whole thing. Why waste the time? I didn't. I went through the entire adventure and converted every single thing in this adventure. And yeah, it has worked very, very well for that. So I literally have done all the prep work for this, so I can run this to completion without any difficulty. So yeah, we have a group Discord message, and I basically told them, you guys want to do this again? All we got to do is find a time. I'll do it. I'll stream it. I'll upload to my YouTube channel so other people can enjoy it. But I am 100% set on let's do this. Let's go ahead and do this. And who knows? Maybe this turns into me actually being allowed to run the full Temple of Elemental Evil. I sincerely doubt it, because it is the original Temple of Elemental Evil. Village of Hamlet's supposed to take the characters from like level 1 to level 3, and then the Temple of Elemental Evil, I think, maxes out at, I can't remember if you're supposed to get through like level 8 or 9, or if you're supposed to get all the way up to like level 12. But it's a big adventure. It's really, really big, and it's got, the temple itself is a massive mega dungeon. And then in addition to the temple being a mega dungeon, there's also 4 elemental nodes that are so massive that they have to change the scale on the map, because they're just these huge places where you just get a bunch of more powerful weapons and armor and things like that, specifically designed to help you at the end deal with a final big baddie, which some people get really upset is not like something elemental. You're facing a demon lord. Spoiler alert. But I really like it. If you guys watched my video on the Temple of Elemental Evil, you already know this stuff. But yeah. So that's what happened. I'm probably going to upload the video, because the reason that I normally wait till Sundays to upload my Wednesday night games. I think I'm gonna sneeze. No. The reason I wait till Sunday to upload my Wednesday night games is when I first started doing it. Really, Nose? You just gonna do this over and over and over again? Is when I first started doing this, there was an exclusivity contract with Twitch that basically stated, you stream something on Twitch, it is only allowed to exist on Twitch for, I think originally it was 24 hours. And I was always worried, and at that point I had other scheduled uploads on my channel, and so Sunday was the easiest day for me to upload things without ever having to worry about accidentally breaching that exclusivity contract and then having to worry about my channel getting penalized for it. That doesn't exist anymore. You can now multi-stream to YouTube as well. I don't do it because it just requires work. And chat on Twitch is just significantly better. And findability on Twitch is significantly better. Like, I wouldn't have gotten raided twice on YouTube. Raiding on YouTube isn't a thing. But yeah, I'm probably going to upload the video later today. Just so I can have it here for the people that want to see more Daggerheart content. And also, like, I do this thing where if you watch, you can give, you can use channel points, which are just free stuff you get for watching. Not bits or anything where you have to pay and I make money off of it. No, channel points are free. So you can use channel points to, like, give the players, like, you can give them health points, give them remove stress, repair their armor, give them hope, which they use to do a lot of different things, and even, give me fear, which I use to do all my fun stuff. And it was super fun. We had a couple different people that were just giving out hope and fear and stuff like that, and interacting with everything, and it was massively, massively fun. So I hope we can find a time where everyone can get together, so we can at least finish the Village of Hamlet. Because it really, really is. The Village of Hamlet was one of the earliest kind of intro adventures, and it is designed to be kind of baby's first dungeon crawl. So, uh, with with the adventure, I really would like to get to the end of it, because it's super fun. It's got a pretty cool ending, and there's lots of fun stuff that you can do with it. And Daggerheart has made running it specifically just that much more fun. And I'm really excited to see how Daggerheart handles a dungeon crawl, because Daggerheart in and of itself is really not designed around dungeon crawl style adventuring. If anyone's unaware of what a dungeon crawl is, old school D&D, that was the default adventure. And the reason it was called a dungeon crawl is the first adventures that Gygax ran were set in this dungeon. And basically what would happen is the players would just descend into this dungeon, and every adventure they would make their way as far as they could, and then at the end they would retreat to kind of lick their wounds. And while they were resting, the dungeon would kind of repopulate itself a little bit, but because they were more powerful, they'd be able to get further and further. If I remember correctly, the dungeon itself that Gygax first created, I think maxed out at like 12 or 13 levels. So that's how D&D worked, was you would just go into this dangerous place, explore, fight a bunch of monsters, and then retreat when your resources were spent, rinse and repeat. So that's what a dungeon crawl is. And it can be a really, really fun way to play, but for people that want, epic storytelling and memorable NPCs, that's not really what you're going to get in a dungeon crawl. Like, your NPCs are really just going to be the people that when you go out and go to rest up, you can talk to people in the village and then go back. And that's what's really popular now in tabletop RPGs, is kind of epic storytelling and a lot of role playing and stuff like that. And it's just not what dungeon crawls are designed for. So Daggerheart in and of itself is not designed for dungeon crawling. They have they have de-emphasized money just in general. Like, you don't get, like in D&D, you have copper, silver, gold, platinum, and you can collect a lot of it. In here, you have bags of gold, I think it's handfuls, sacks, and chests or something like that. Like, that's all. It's just these kind of esoteric measurements of money, and things don't generally have values that you can buy. You're not supposed to be going in, earning money, and then buying new shit. It's supposed to be earned through adventuring or other things like that. So I'm interested to see how well Daggerheart can handle a more traditional dungeon crawl. And how players that are more used to, like, the games that I run are much closer to the role-playing emphasis. Like, I don't do dungeon crawls in my my homebrew games, because it's just not the thing that I do. I like the epic storytelling and role-playing and stuff like that. It's not that I don't like dungeon crawls. They're just not what immediately comes to mind when I'm designing things. And one of my campaigns, Legend of the Three Kingdoms, is going to end in a dungeon crawl, because they're currently dealing with the forces of my version of Dracula. And eventually they're going to get to go to Dracula's castle, which is going to be a massive dungeon crawl that they eventually get to deal with Dracula himself, whom I just call the Dark Lord. So there will be a dungeon crawl in one of my adventures, but it's not something I've done thus far. So yeah, a lot of the players, they're used to the more modern version of tabletop RPGs, and I don't think any of them have ever played an actual full-on dungeon crawl. So I'll be interested to see how the things go. Anyway, that's what I did yesterday. If anyone's still wondering about my health, I still have eaten next to nothing in the past week. I'm starting to lose a little bit of weight because I literally, if I've eaten more than maybe 500 or 600 calories in a day, that's a real good day for me. But the pain in my bowels and my intestines, I think for the most part is gone. So there's a possibility I can start eating again. I don't know if my brain's going to let me, but we'll find out. Other than that, life is life. So anyway, interested to hear from you guys. First of all, any of you guys that actually showed up, thank you so much. If you have a favorite moment from the adventure, put it down below. And anyone that missed it, like I said, I'm going to be uploading it hopefully later today, maybe tomorrow, so that you guys can watch it. Maybe more of you will show up next time. Who knows? Anyway, it's going to be all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.